ever wondered how Minecraft builders such as Good Times with Scar, B-Dubs, Grian, and others manage to pull off huge builds in survival worlds? Hang around because I'm about to show you some trade secrets of the Litematica Mod, tool of the pros. So this Litematica tutorial is going to assume that you've already got the mod installed. We are not going to go through how to install the mod, only how I use it to help me build on survival worlds or the Interrealms SMP server. Now the first thing I want to do when I am making a creation or a new build is I want to copy the terrain into my creative world so that I can actually build it exactly how it's going to fit. And I'll explain that more as we go. But the first thing you want to do is take a copy of the terrain in which you're going to build. Now to do that, the first thing you're going to need is a stick. That's right, a stick. And the second thing that we're going to want to do is press the M button, come to configuration menu, hotkeys, and then we're going to go down here until we see the word execute operation. Now, that will be set to none. You want to map it to a button. So you simply click it and you select what button on your keyboard you want to actually have that do. And I have it to X, and it seems to work well with that. Okay, once you got that done, and those two steps are very important. One, have a stick. Two, configure that execute operation button. Now, find the area in which you want to copy, that you want to build on, because you're going to take basically a copy of this build and take it across into your creative world first and foremost. Now you need to think in terms of corners when you're doing a selection, because you're going to basically select a cube or a rectangular prism. It's one of those things. So you need to think in terms of corners. So one corner of the terrain that we're going to pick by this mountain here is we're going to come across here, and we are going to pick this block as one of our bounding box. No, we're not. We're going to come out a bit further to make sure we pick up that entire mountain. Oh, close enough. Doesn't matter. So we're going to pick this one as one corner of our bounding box of our selection for this terrain here. To do that, you highlight the square and you left click. Now, ignore what it does at the start. It'll just do something random based on what it thinks you're going to do. So ignore that at the moment, but make sure this one here is red. That's box one. Now what we want to do is, again, think in terms of corners. So we want to go to the opposite diagonal corner of where we want our imaginary box to be. Now in this case, we want to make sure we get all the terrain, so it's going to be over here somewhere. Now in the case of this, what we're going to do is we're just going to, because we're up in the sky, we're just going to create another block to select. Now to do that, again, you use your stick and you right click. And that will then, as you can see, select the area we want to copy. Now the other thing I probably should have mentioned at the start, what you want to make sure is that your tool mode is set to area selection, and you change that just by clicking. So you want to make sure that it has area selection, and for the sake of ease and for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to use area selection mode simple. That's right, simple. And that makes it nice and easy for us. So as you can see here, using the stick, right and left click, we've selected the corners and we've now got the bounding box. And we're going to do just a little build up here to make sure it all fits. What do we do now? Well, we make sure we've got everything we want to have selected. And if we don't, for example, say, oh, I wanted to change that. So you can actually change your selections. So this is corner 2, so it's going to be the right click one. Let's just say we're going to come over here. We want it a little bit wider. So we take our stick and we right click, and as you can see, it's come out a little bit further. And let's just say we wanted to decide, actually, we wanted a little bit more of the terrain for the first one now. Yep, we can do that too. And it keeps going. And you can just keep doing that until you've selected, make sure you've selected everything that you want to select. I will also note that anything in this bounding box will be copied And that includes animals, mobs, players, villagers, anything in that bounding box. Now, before I copy it, I always remove this block here. And it just makes it a bit easier. You don't have a random floating glass block in your creative world. But it's not hugely important. Okay, the next thing you want to do here is while holding your stick, you press M again. You want to go into Area Editor. Now, this will allow you to name the selection. So we are going to name this one. I'll show you in a moment. We're going to name this one Mountain Litematica Tutorial. And then you press Set. And you'll see it changes down the bottom. Now what you're doing here is you're saving something called a schematic. So this is what you're doing to take the copy of the item. So save schematic. And it'll open up here and you can see all the schematics that I have got saved so far on my computer that I've used for various things. But you make sure you name it something there that you're going to remember. Save schematic, and there you go. Schematic saved as Mountain Litematica Tutorial. So now we've actually got a copy somewhere here. There we go, Mountain Litematica Tutorial. We've got a copy of that part of the world saved on our computer. Now, let's go across to the creative world and see what we can do with that. Okay, so here I am in my creative world, and I'm going to bring that piece of the landscape into this world so that I can build on and build actually to the terrain. Now again, you're going to want to make sure you have a stick. Now the first thing you want to do is, when you're on the creative world, is press M, and you're going to load the schematic that you want to place. Now we press the load and we come to look what the one we saved before, which is Mountain Litematica Tutorial. Select it. Now you can do a couple of things once you've got here. You can see a material list of everything that you need for the build. So total. So there's 27,000 stone, there's 4,000 dirt, 1,800 grass blocks, etc., in that selection. Everything that's in there will be listed here. And you can write that to file, which will actually create a text file in your folder. So that's really useful if you're going to go and get things ready on the survival world. You can have the text file open on one side, and you can have, while you're playing, go, okay, I've collected all that, etc. But that's not what we're here for at the moment. Load schematics, Litematica Tutorial, load schematic. And then when we go back, we can say, there's the schematic loaded into the world. Based upon your location in it, obviously, where you're standing. And there you can see, now that's just a hologram. It's not actually here. It's missing, as you can see, right? So it doesn't actually exist. It's just a visual representation. Now remember I said animals are included? Well, there's the cat. And if we come up the top, there's the chicken and the other chicken. So as you can see, it captures everything that's in that space. Now we may not want it where it is actually placed the schematic in the world. We may want to move it over a little bit, or back and forth, up and down, whichever way you want to go. So to do that, you press M and you come to schematic placements, configure. Now over here you'll see placement origins XYZ, and they're obviously your locations in the world. And just by simply hovering over the plus minus button and scrolling your wheel, you can see you can move it in any of the three directions, up, down, left, right, all over the place, until you get it exactly where you want it. Absolutely great tool. So let's just say we want it here. Now, what do we want to do? Now, I don't want to build it block by block because that will take me all day. And that's just a waste of time. We can paste it into the world. So again, hold your stick, press M. Now come down to tool mode and you're going to want to see paste schematic in world. Once you've got that selected down the bottom left hand corner, you can say mode, C, mode 5 out of 9, paste schematic in world. You hold your stick. Now remember at the start, I told you to go and map the execute function button to X. Well, this is what happens. Boom. And it will paste that into the world, just like that. What you do have to make sure here, sorry, with the M button, is that you've got that one selected. See how it's highlighted? Make sure it's selected. So if you press X and nothing happens and it comes up with nothing, or it says to you, it knows no schematic selected, you just press M, come to schematic placements and just click on there. So you've got the white outline box. And there you go. There is the mountain, there is the terrain as it appeared in the world in full that you can build on to then take your build into, you can build it to the terrain. Now, as an example of that, you may have seen my bridge tutorial. And as you can see here, I selected and I highlighted the terrain, and that's what I built it on. You know, that's the actual terrain from the world. I pasted it into the world, into this creative map. I then built the bridge, so it all lined up perfectly, and I then took the bridge schematic and put that into the world and built it. And I did the same thing over here for the town hall on the Interrealm server. As you can see, I flattened an area out on the map. I took the terrain of the shopping district and then I built the town hall onto it. And I also did that over here. As you can see, it's still selected, the area for the Nether Fortress. And that's how I build. That's what I do. So I take the terrain, I bring it and paste it into the creative world, and then I can build. And then what I'll do is I'll take a schematic of the build, and we'll show that next. We'll take a schematic into the world, and then we can actually build it. So what I'm going to use is this tower here, which I've already built on the server, but we'll use it as an example. Now, the first thing first, right? So I've built my building and I want to take a schematic. Okay, great, fantastic. We want to come back here, make sure we are back in area selection, simple, exactly the same way as we selected it before. Left click, we come up, we think in terms of corners. Opposite diagonal corner, we right click on it. We then make sure we've got everything selected that we need to have selected. Is that correct? Yes, it is. Very good. We then come to M, Area Editor. We put in the title of what we want to call this one. So this one we're going to put in Litematica Tutorial Tower. Right, then press set. We happy with that? Very good. Save the schematic. We then come here, we make sure that what we want to call it is correct, something we can identify. Save schematic, boom, done. Once this gets moved, here we go, Litematica Tutorial Tower. So now that will be saved for us in a schematic file that we can then take back to our server world. Now, let's go have a look at that. Okay, so here we are in just a random world that I've opened up for the benefit of this. But, you know, you can do this in any survival world, server, anything. It doesn't have nothing specific, as long as it's a Minecraft world, obviously. Okay, so we've got our tower schematic. So we press M, and again, it's the same steps as taking the terrain to creative as it is to bring the build back into the world. So you got load schematic, and we want, which one was it? Litematica Tutorial Tower. Again, we can see the material list. We can go and get everything we need for that. So it's all ready. It's all on hand, which we don't need to worry about on this example. Load schematic, tutorial tower, load the schematic. Ah, and here it is. But I don't want it up there. That's just silly. I want it down here. So this is where your placement becomes in very important. Schematic, configure, and this is where we can move it across just by highlighting over the plus minus sign, as you can see, very simply, and just rolling the mouse until you can get it where you want it. Now, the color coding. the color coding. If it's a pink square, don't be too concerned about that. What the pink square means is, in the schematic, it's actually supposed to be air. Now, this will be coming up because it's got snow. So if you remove the snow, it'll come up as no square because it's registering it as an air block, as a vacant block, which means it's all good. This one will have grass, boom, and it disappeared. So pink doesn't really matter too much when you're actually bringing it across. Red means that it is the wrong block in the place. So as you can see here, this one's red. So we take the snow out. Okay, so it should be a fence post, and it's blue. You also see blue. That means that that is the right block in the right position, and that's how it needs to look when you complete building it. Now just keep in mind, this is a hologram. It's not real. It doesn't exist yet. You've still got to build it. Now let's assume you're not in a creative world where you can't just paste it in. You've got to build it line by line. I'll show you how to do that as well. The other color that you might notice from time to time that's not present here is orange. Orange is also not a great, huge problem. All orange means basically is that it's the right block, it's just in the wrong form. So as an example here, if we put in, we put in that there, you'll see it's orange. Now that means it is the right block, but it's not in the right form. Why is it not in the right form? Well, it hasn't got a brick selected attached to it. Sorry, it hasn't got a brick attached to it here. Or here, and boom. As soon as it does, it takes on the right form, and now it is correct. Now, with that explained, trying to build this, as you can see it here, is next to impossible. It is so hard, you know, because it's a hologram and you can't see things, and it's just so difficult. Well, fortunately, there is a way that you don't have to keep the schematic looking like that. You can take it layer by layer. Simple. Press M. Configuration menu, render layers. Now over here it says layers all. You can change that to single layer. Ah, look, it's gone. Where is it gone? What have we done? Oh my goodness. Do not fret. Press M, configuration menu, and you move this until you can see there it is, until you see it. Right, so there's our first layer, and it's layer by layer by layer until such point that you get all the way up to the top. And you just go around and you build it layer, block by block, block by block, block by block, until such point that you're finished. Now, let's just say you've done this one. You use your page up, goes up, page down, goes down, page up, page up, page up, page up, page up, page down, page down, page down, page down. And away you go. Now, now what you can do here, let's just say we're going to be building here. And we're going across. If you've got the resources in your inventory, it's very much an easy matter of walking along each one. Now, at the top right-hand corner, you can see schematic. Minecraft nether brick. That means that is what that type of block is. Now, if I move over here and I look at a different block, boom, polished blackstone brick wall. So it will tell you actually what you need. But there is another trick you can do as you go. If you've got all the items, type of blocks in your inventory, you can walk around and go, boom, middle click, boom, until you get to something different. Right, which is here, and you just select it by looking at it, and you can put it in. Just like that. I didn't have to bother wasting time. I just could just look at it. I know it's in my inventory, press my middle button on my mouse, which selects the type of block I'm looking at, and I can just place it. So why don't we take a look at what it looks like when you're actually doing a build, this actual build, using Litematica. Let's take a look. Well, I hope you found this very quick beginner's guide to Litematica very, very, very handy. It's been, I'm only beginning to learn it myself, so if you've found other ways to do it or other tips and advice, feel free to leave them down below in the comment section. I would love to learn myself. But I found this has really helped me. Now, there was an argument against using Litematica that you have to build the build twice, and therefore, where's the time saving? I assure you, it is quicker building this way than as it is trying to build it once and designing it in a survival world. It is so much easier doing it this way. And the reason for that is simple. If you're on a survival server, you don't have the luxury of being able to go up and down and look things. You're going to have all the resources on hand. You save so much time having your design ready to go. You plug it into the world. You know what resources you've got to have on hand. You go and get them all ready. You load up your inventory with all the various bits and pieces, and you just start building it up level by level. Now, I've also heard someone complain, oh, it's a bit cheaty. Well, no, it's not. It's really not. And you shouldn't feel that way and feel that it is. Why? Because you've still got to build it in survival. You've created the build. It's your design. You've built it in creative. And when you take it to the survival world, you've still got to spend the time doing it. You've still got to go and get all the resources ready. So there's absolutely no difference. It just helps and it speeds up the process. Now, there is other things. There are websites that you can use where actual people, other builders, have actually uploaded their schematics for you to use. Some will use Litematica, some will use world edit type schematics that you can paste into worlds and that you can use. What is really important to note is if you are using other people's builds in your series or YouTube content, please, it's only right, give credit to the original content creator. These people have spent hours designing it, and there's nothing worse watching the video thinking, oh wow, this builder is so excellent and so cool, only to find later on that they've only used someone else's schematic and trying to profit off someone else's work. It's not cool. Always give credit to others. Even if you've taken a build and you modify it slightly, just give credit to the original designer. It's only fair and it's the only right thing to do in the community. With that, I hope you found some use in this tutorial, and leave a like and subscribe if you'd like to see more tutorials on building and how we actually do things here on Project Minerva. Bye bye.